everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day, too. I really do. I hope you guys know that. I hope you guys know that I really hope you guys are having a great day. Let's go ahead and get started with the episode. And actually, we do need to get started with it because this current topic I'm going to be talking about, the first topic, could disappear at any point. I have a feeling it's going to be around for a while, but it is on 4chan, and they're bored. You know, it's not like Reddit. Stuff just kind of disappears from it. Stuff gets archived from time to time, but a lot of stuff just kind of disappears into the void. And this is gold. I love this conspiracy. So, back in the 90s, there was a little show called Family Matters. It was part of the TGIF. I think TGIF existed at that time. You had Full House, you had Step by Step, you had these wholesome family sitcoms. They weren't very good. They're actually all quite terrible. I'm not a big sitcom fan. But you had a show called Family Matters, and it featured a black family. Carl Winslow was a cop. He had just got over shooting a kid before the events of Die Hard. A lot of people don't know that. Family Matters is a direct spinoff of Die Hard. It's not, but I should have been. That would have been so much better. Each episode just ends with him drinking in the dark, being like, I shouldn't have shot that kid. And the audience is like, aww. And then it just freeze frames as the alcohol's like halfway down his gullet. Anyways, so Carl's... You know what? Here's a side note, too. I remember I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and gay people weren't as visible when I was growing up at all. Like, you had a feeling that they existed because you'd hear about them. And I remember, when I was in elementary school, there was a teacher who they found out was gay, or he admitted he was gay. And this was like in 1985 or 6. And the school board had a meeting about it. And they told the parents, if you don't feel comfortable, you can actually not have your child be taught by him. We have another teacher teaching the same subject. I think it was like 3rd or 4th grade or something like that. A meeting about it. Could you imagine them doing that today? And I remember my parents being like, that is a good question. And they were like, yeah, he's fine. I don't care. But I didn't end up being taught by him anyways because we moved away. But yeah, I called the school board meeting because the teacher was gay. Anyways, though, homosexuality was becoming more and more visible as I was growing up. But one of the first people that I knew of, that I can remember, who I knew of and watched the show and was gay was Carl Winslow. Was the actor who played Carl Winslow, the father. I don't remember his name, and I remember thinking, really? That's what gay dudes are like, giant people? Weird. It's just how your stereotypes are built. Anyways, that revealing segue aside. Carl Winslow is gay? That's interesting. It's just like the first guy I knew who was gay. Like, I'd heard that lead singer of Queen was gay. I don't even know if I knew that back then. I think he might have been one of the first, I'm trying to think. Anyways, that's not the point of the segment. He just became, that's what I thought gay dudes looked like. So, now, obviously, I'm a little better educated on the subject, but anyways, none of that has anything to do with what we're going to talk about. Family Matters was a show about a family struggling with normal family things. It was a complete by-the-book sitcom. It was actually so mundane, it was on the verge of cancellation. In episode 11 of the first season, Laura, the daughter, has a quilt, and it's a family quilt. And there's a white person who wants to buy the quilt because they know how valuable it is, both monetarily and just historically. And she sells the quilt to the white person. Now, I believe at the end of the episode she gets the quilt back. But that doesn't matter. The fact that she sold it in the first place, she committed a crime against her people. The very next episode, Steve Urkel shows up. Now, Steve Urkel, if you haven't seen Family Matters, which, it's an older show, but I know it was real popular, especially worldwide even. Steve Urkel was if you took all the characters from The Big Bang Theory and threw them in a blender and then turned it up to 11, that'd be Steve Urkel. He was the ultimate nerd, and he was a bumbling fool. He was basically Jar Jar Binks in a sitcom. And he totally changed the show. He showed up the very next episode where 2 people were trying to compete to get a date for Laura, and Carl's choice was the safe, nerdy guy, Steve Urkel, who always had a crush on Laura. he's just totally annoying, and at the end of the episode, it's just like, no, I'm not going to go out with him, I'm going to go out with this other guy, and he was supposed to be a one-off character. The character became so popular that they immediately began rewriting episodes to add him in, to start changing stuff. That season. The show took off. He became a cultural phenomenon. He had his own dance. He had his own cereal called Urkelos. He had toys, shirts. Did I do that? Anyone got any cheese? All those stupid catchphrases that really, when you think of like what makes a sitcom stereotypically bad, that was the Steve Urkel character. I have nothing against J.L. White as an actor. He was just doing the role. But that character was really, when people think about like bad catchphrases and like ruining shows and stuff like that. And that was part of the issue, is that, I mean, people weren't watching the show to begin with, but it was a basic like family drama sitcom. Steve Urkel shows up, you have time travel, he goes to space, he creates clones of himself. It became basically a science fiction sitcom at that point, because his antics just got so bizarre. And eventually he had an alter ego. We'll get into that. So that was just the setup for here. So there's a current thread on 4chan, and it could disappear, but hopefully they archive it, and you can jump in it now after hearing this episode. There's a current thread on 4chan where a guy is putting forth the theory that Steve Urkel is an African trickster god or deity who appears in Laura's life because of her sin for selling the quilt. And for proof, this poster puts forward things like the fact that he has all these magical abilities, he has all of these abilities to like bend space and time. Actually, and he points this out, when the show went into syndication, they actually re-edited episodes to put Urkel back in earlier episodes than when he appeared. And the official story is they did that so viewers who are expecting Urkel don't go 11 episodes without Urkel. But this guy's theory is that he actually warped space and time to appear in segments where he wasn't originally. Which is weird, because when we think of stuff like, we have shows who are really, really on canon about, like, Star Trek has like this particular canon. You couldn't go back and change stuff like that. But on a sitcom, you don't really think of things like canon. But it exists anyways. It really does exist anyways. The quote that the poster used when they were creating this thread said, "It would be like having childhood memories of a person you only met in adulthood, but never questioning why." Because these events originally happened in sequence, and then Urkel showed back up in them when they were repeated. That's bizarre. So yeah, that would be a weird memory trick. He goes on to say that Stephen Urkel created his alter ego Stefan, and that is about the duality of the gods. Like, you have like the trickster god, and then you have like the noble god, and the Stefan dichotomy is part of that. He goes on to say that this might be one of the most layered mythological characters ever created for television. And it's kind of being put in there that the writers set him up to be this character, to be this trickster god to punish Laura. A side note, Steve Urkel is actually a real guy's name. I think it was the producer of the show, named the character Steve Urkel after his buddy as a joke. And he didn't, it was just supposed to be a one-off episode. It's supposed to be like, hey, Steve, watch this week. We got this real nerdy guy on him. You might recognize him. And when they call him Steve Urkel, the buddy, oh man, this is so funny, dude. Of course, Steve Urkel became a phenomenon. His buddy had a hard time doing business afterwards, because he would call up, try to make meetings, and they'd ask him what his name is. He goes, oh, I'm Steve Urkel. And they would say, oh, come on, what's your real name? And he goes, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Looking back on that, I shouldn't have done that. Right now, the thread, the original poster, I love this comment. He said, his skill in ancient instruments shows his age in history. Accordion skills from haunting Europe, for example. His time machine is his omnipotent deity ability to be anywhere, anytime. Yet he focuses now on Laura, as the jailer of the Winslow damned forever to be cursed by Laura's blood crimes. Now, the way he talks about it, I don't think that he's really believes this. He might. It's always hard to tell with conspiracies. It's always hard to tell with this stuff whether or not they're joking around or if they're serious. But it really is a moot point at this, because this thread is going to appear in a full form. It'll either disappear or go into the archives. And then someone with just a memory of it a month or two from now will repost it and be talking about it as if it was a real conspiracy. and then it'll grow from there. And 6 months from now, I'll be looking at crazy conspiracies, and someone will be like, did you know that Steve Urkel is actually a demon? We'll watch this evolve over time. So kudos to the guy who came up with this. I think it was very entertaining to read. And it's always interesting to see original content and watch how it morphs to other things. I actually was on an Iceberg Conspiracy thread the other day on 4chan. And the guy who talked about XXXTentacion being killed by demons is still talking about that. We covered that. I think that was like episode 6 about Balbereth sending out his demons to go kill XXX. And I was like, I did 2 episodes on that kid's murder. It was horrible. And then the guy's still doing it. He's still talking about, I mean, more power to him. It's a conspiracy he believes in, but that was over a year ago, and that's still getting brought up. That's actually on the conspiracy iceberg now. XXXTentacion was killed by demons. That thread that started, that I covered when I first started the show a year ago, is now on the conspiracy iceberg. So that's how we see this stuff grow. Steve Urkel will be on there eventually as well. And then he'll say, anyone got it? I couldn't stand that guy. Step by Step, though, I hated that show because I was into this girl who had a crush on, I think his name was Cody, who lived in an RV in the backyard, and he was like the cool surfer guy with the guitar, and he's so cute, he's so, ooh, and I was like, I'm gonna clobber that actor if I ever see him. And then I guess he got arrested for domestic violence, not against the girl I liked, but just in general. I don't know if he was actually guilty of that, but he did get arrested for it, so. Yeah, Step by Step. Anyways, that was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.